Indlulamithi South Africa has released a new report, Future Scenarios Facing South Africa in the lead up to 2030. The initiative involved conversations between government and corporate sector and civil society. The focus this year was on the impact of COVID-19 on South Africans and the economy. SABC News reporter Sipho Stuurman was at the release of this report.
Indlulamithi Scenarios 2030 has given its scenarios and outlook of the country, especially with the impact of COVID-19, how that will affect the economy and unemployment and young people in the country generally. Now I'm joined by Dr. Samato Rafikeni. Thank you very much, Say. You've been leading this project, but firstly, talk to us about what are we talking about here when we talk about Indlulamithi?
Indlulamithi is a future scenario plan. It's a scenario planning about the future, which is trying to project where we could possibly be in 10 years' time from now in 2030. And what we have evolved to have at this moment is to say, of the three scenarios that we have, Nailewok, Gwara and Isipujwa, where are we? We have a tracking survey which we call a barometer, which is telling us by analyzing the hard trends nationally and in the provinces. We also have an economic modeling which is telling us which policy interventions are taking us into which scenario. So today it was a release of results of the last 12 months of that kind of analysis to say where are we in terms of the scenarios that we have by analyzing the trends.
All right, you said today it was a release of that, but talk to us then, what have you found out, especially when we talk about issues of the economy? We are faced with COVID-19. A lot of companies are retrenching people, SABC, which we are working for right now, also announcing a possibility of retrenchment. So this is affecting a lot of people. So what is the outlook?
The outlook at this stage is quite bleak, and it is, as the results were showing, drifting in the direction of Gwara, which is a worst case scenario. Of course, there are some hopeful signs because younger people in particular are still hopeful about the future, but other people are also saying COVID-19 pandemic could possibly be an opportunity to do things differently, and therefore taking the bold steps that otherwise incrementally we could not take before in order to set us on a path of recovery. So that in itself, I think, to me, it's a glimmer of hope to say we could do things differently. But also the current situation has made people to appreciate having a strategic conversation about the future instead of obsessing with daily occurrence and soft issues instead of hard trends.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Perhaps now I can bring in another person that was part of the panel here, presenting, of course, the findings that have come out of Indlulamithi survey, and that is the former States SA General. Thank you very much, Dr. Palile Shola. You spoke a lot. Yes, thank you. Apologies there. You spoke a great deal about the impact of COVID-19 on the economy, unemployment. Where are we looking? Well, what is the possible scenario in terms of unemployment?
The immediate unemployment levels will go up to 40% under the aggressive scenario. Many have also agreed that the economy will shrink. Estimates range from 4.8 to 16% under the aggressive scenario, which is more likely to be that way. Inequality is likely to increase, will increase definitely under the circumstances, probably inching towards 0.7, more than 0.7. That's what we have done beyond just describing what will happen as a consequence of COVID-19, which we had already done anyway last year, was to say, is it possible for South Africa to follow a different growth path? And what are the policy mixtures, combination of policies that will make that possible?
All right, now, so what I'm taking from you, of course, that was quite insightful. The immediate impact of COVID-19, looking in the future, is rather bleak. You're talking about estimations of unemployment going as high as 40%. But you're saying that with the right interventions, by the time we reach 2030, things can begin to change. But in the immediate aftermath of this, it's not looking good.
At least for the next 2 years, we are not going to get out of this. The impact is not going to be short, it's going to be long. But by 2023, we should be starting to see us cross over the business as usual scenario, which was articulated in the State of the Nation address as well as in the budget speech of 2020. And if the president wants different, I think we have provided an indication, a combination of policies that can deliver that different. And that different is not the different that puts us back to a pre-corona scenario, but it's one that puts South Africa on a high growth path.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your insights. Well, there you have it. The future not looking very bright right now with the impact of COVID-19. Unemployment projected to go as high as 40%. And that we are going to be sitting in that range for about the next 2 years. But if the right interventions are made in the long term, we will be able to move out of this as the country. And with that, it's back to you in studio.
Right, that's my colleague Sipho Stuurman at the Indlulamithi South Africa report launch on scenarios facing the country in the lead up to 2030.